Let me start. This grew out of the Customer Experience Center of Excellence.
Okay.
One of our initiatives we were calling PACE, Perfect Acts of Customer Experience. So the sprint case was develop this program, bring it to fruition.
That was one case.
I believe so.
Right out of the gates, is developing an entire program is too much for one case. The sprint might be to develop the program, but we would have to break it into pieces. The idea behind a sprint is that it's not more than 6 items.
Right.
And not more than 6 weeks, right?
Right.
But I think saying develop and launch an entire program is probably an unrealistic scope for one particular case. But let's take a look at
Reggie,
that
did I
case.
have that right? Did we just have one case?
I think that's all we've been working on.
Yeah, okay. So, Brent.
And there was a separate case for creating the video.
Okay, you spawned a few other
Right.
Also
cases.
part of the sprint.
related to it. Yeah, one of the things was creating a video, so they launched an L&D
Okay.
course.
So if I were thinking, just again, while you're pulling it up,
Sure.
but don't stop. But
No. Is it assigned to you, Reggie?
Yes.
Okay.
if I were thinking about what a sprint would look like for developing a program like this, some generic little program,
Right.
we're going to have probably in the beginning is define, or brainstorm.
Right.
And this is assuming we're going to get through the whole thing. And at the end, we're going to be doing rollout, announce, right, which gives us 4 things in the middle, right? One of them is clearly going to be kind of training some kind of core group. One is going to be documenting. One is going to be configure the arch in Central. And then, we're going to articulate the requirements. So one is we're going to look at it and figure out what we're doing. 2 is we're going to write down what we want it to be. 3 is we're going to create it. 4 is we're going to make sure that we've properly documented it.
Mm-hmm.
In some ways, 4 could be included in 3 because it's in standards, but
Sure.
5 is kind of a smaller socialization rolling, and then 6 is kind of the overall launch. So almost from a generic standpoint, if you have something that says we're going to launch this program, this is what a sprint might look like.
Sure.
Okay. So what does the actual case say?
Okay.
So at the very beginning, our goal is to recognize, reward, and publicize random acts of customer service excellence. Okay, assigning to Reggie.
Right.
Okay, so again, big, amorphously defined thing for
Right.
one case as a sprint.
Sure.
But okay, so where are we now?
What we've done thus far, we've got a draft of a video, which will need to be tuned up, but sort of an introductory video, sort of the socialization.
Right.
skipping out.
So we've developed kind of a video for this.
Right.
We have some idea of, in other words, there's some brainstorming that's happened.
Right.
And I don't know if we've articulated the requirements. It looks like there's some of that in here.
Yeah. So we've generally got a process for nominating and judging. I would use a content factory case type that has a category of PACE, judging by the customer experience COE to judge it, and award PACE winners quarterly. Just assume for the moment that our process Justin's okay with, and if we need to tweak it, if it's not a content factory case, or do you have any thoughts on that, on how best to nominate? We were going to create a content factory case category PACE, and then that will we can find those cases and we can judge them as a committee.
So
do
the
you have any
question
thoughts around that?
is how do we nominate? So that there's kind of a nomination process.
Right.
So there's 2 things, right?
Okay.
3. Maybe there's self-nominate. So you're hey, it's me. Okay.
Look at me.
Right. Then you can nominate someone else.
That could come from a tenant too, in the form of a review.
Well, that's the third part, is what I would describe as we can find.
By virtue of a positive tenant survey,
Okay.
potentially,
Right.
Okay.
or
Yeah.
because that happens a lot. We get the surveys back, so and so did a wonderful thing for me, whatever.
Okay. So there's a survey, or there's also we have blog posts
Sure.
already. So just look at the posts. I think that's probably more likely. In other words, if we think about the survey as somebody going to review, someone's going to have to now review the surveys to identify these things,
Sure.
The other thing too,
package them as. So I would tend to just focus on this for the moment. We can always add later. But
Sure.
okay, so now we have these three things, and what's different about them is these ones we have to promote, and this one we have to analyze. So in order to do the promotion, we have to decide how we're going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And the two things that are open to us are a blog post, which is easy but doesn't get a huge, and the other is an acknowledgement case. It goes to everybody and says,
Yeah.
we have this program.
Perhaps with a link to the video if we can get a good video.
And the analysis would have to be a recurring analysis in CAST, right? This could also be CAST. This could be a CAST for a content factory. Okay, so we're gonna have this nomination process overall. We've decided kind of what the different categories are. Stage one is to promote it. We want to make sure that we're using CAST so that we don't have to remember to do this every year, or every quarter.
Right.
And then after we promote, we have to collect, and we have to decide what kind of mechanism we want to use for that. It's probably going to be either a case or an entity. The impulse is to create something new. Hey, I've got this new thing. I don't want to do that.
Right.
If we did an entity, it would be some kind of thing like suggestion or nomination or idea or something like that. That would be the type of entity that we would have for that. Do we have an entity called a suggestion, maybe a nomination?
Just to clarify, this is an employee, or let's just focus on employee. Like, wow, I saw Reggie do something great. I want to nominate him for a PACE. So it's how are they going to do that? They could create a case, create an entity, add an entity record or something. Is that what we're talking about at this point, Justin?
Yeah. In other words, how do we let people know that I'm suggesting this person?
Right.
So one way would be to create an entity that says, hey, this thing is my suggestion or my nomination or my idea. Nomination is accurate but limited, right? In other words, you can only use it for nominations.
Oh, sure.
Suggestion is kind of probably the Goldilocks. Idea is like very broad. This is very narrow, and this is kind of a balance. So an idea could be an idea about anything for anybody, including for myself. A nomination is a specific type of idea for somebody else to consider.
Right.
And a suggestion is kind of any idea for somebody else to consider.
Yeah. Like
So
the suggestion box.
probably if we did that, this would be it. And now we have something called a suggestion, and we can be, and that could be also used for the safety committee contest and but I think we should change the tile,
Right.
If we're doing a case in the open, it would be like, hey, I'm creating a nomination case or something.
Right.
But I think we want to use existing stuff that we have, and I'd be perfectly happy to make this be an ad hoc case, which is a catch-all, and it's what it's for.
Right. So just for my own benefit, Justin, we're trying to avoid creating a new type of case.
Yeah.
We're trying to use what's
what we
already
have.
out there.
Right.
Okay.
And what you could do, for example, in order to create an ad hoc case, is we could create an email address, that's called nominations.
.pace at,
Nominations at, either cases, .boxer, etc., or just nominations at Boxer, etc. The only difference is this one goes directly into the case management system. This one requires IT to set up an alias or a forwarding email. But the point is, you could make this kind of easy for people, but still be dropping into a case. And when
Right.
you
We
set
wanna
up
make it
this, it would do things like, assign to and put in, type, etc. I mean, in other words, we can create certain things so that we know it's and as I'm sitting here right now, the easiest thing to do is probably create this email, because it requires a little bit of messing around from somebody on the configuration side, but for all the users, you just click this email and nominate it.
now, just to for my information, would that go to a hopper that we would manage?
It would go to whatever you want it to
So
go
we
to.
can go, okay.
In other words, probably I would see if we could send this never to an individual.
Right.
Now, what you would want is probably a little report, so this is where we get into building the arch. But once you build it, in other words, what we don't want to do is have this thing where we come back a year from now and nobody remembers how it works or what it is or what's pace or So we need to figure out a way to analyze, right? And there's probably going to be some kind of report show the nomination cases. If you were doing this in kind of a highly normalized way, you'd want to have like a specific case type where you capture why did this person and what department are they in and all that kind of stuff. Let's not burden
Right.
ourselves with that now.
Right, we can just, the nominator can just write a little prose why they
It's
liked it,
there.
and then we can
That's right.
take it from there. Okay.
Because Reggie and I originally talked about maybe creating a scorecard.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Well, that's a great idea, but really, what happens if you spend all this time creating a scorecard and there's like 2 nominations? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In other words, let's not design more than we need to.
Right.
But we have to have an arch. There has to be, this kind of way of doing this. We want to collect it, analyze it. We need a mechanism for deciding kind of an award. So the award will be in departments. Yep, we need to assign the badge,
Right.
and we need to, in cases, content factory case to promote the person, right? So this is where we're going to wind up, and we need to have some kind of cast,
Yeah.
to do this.
Right, to tell us each quarter,
Right.
go find the winners.
Did we award the? Now, if you don't think that this is a program where we should, on a regular quarterly basis, award winners, then now is the time to decide that doesn't make sense. But if we do think it should happen regularly, then now is the time to make sure that it happens regularly by scheduling it.
Right.
Okay. So the decide, that's not going to happen automatically. That's kind of going to be a manual process.
2 minutes here.
Okay.
Me too.
So the last thing I would say is, for all of this, we need standards. So just out of the gate, we have this. Let's just assume that we're going to use a acknowledgement case. So we're going to have to create this to promote it. We're going to have to create this to fill it with stuff that happened in case people don't promote it. We have to have this case that we let people collect, make their submissions. We need a report that someone can look at, or we don't. We might just say, go look up all,
Yeah.
We need to have this manual process that doesn't get built, but we're going to describe it in here. And then we have to have these, we need to create a badge, we need to have the cast to promote it, and then we need standards for all of it. And if we do these things, then we will have built this program into an arch. And the way I would tend to describe that is through this. This is what the sprint would look like, right? And we just talked a lot about, basically number 2. Let's articulate the requirements. And we mentioned documenting it a little bit. We kind of skipped the fact of actually configuring it, but in my opinion, that's how we would make this program live. And it sounds like we're doing a lot of this stuff, but there's the recipe right there. And by the way, later on, you can eliminate the word pace and put in any other thing you want. And all we need to do is come up with a new name of a program. We need to change our description a little bit. It's going to be, I don't know, safe.
Right.
I didn't get the pace award, but I got the safe award.
Right. No, good stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So this is how I would approach it.
Okay.
Okay. I would make a new sprint, close this one, refer to it in the other ones, make a new sprint to do these 6 things, and follow this recipe. In 6 weeks, we'll have a functioning program that will last forever that can be replicated with other groups.
Okay.